Agentic AI, redefining how businesses get done and how IP can help. Hi and greetings. This is John Cronin from Invent Anything. Welcome to Agentic AI, redefining how business gets done. We have a 6-part series of how companies are eliminating up to 90% of their workforce, replacing them with the AI agents, allowing them to even work faster, cheaper, and the Agentic AI agents never sleep. You can build custom tools in minutes to deploy self-improving systems. But here's the thing. All the CEOs I talk to weekly now recognize that they need more protection. They need protection about copycats because you can take your output and have the agentic AI instantly copy it. They need protection because, what value do they have if everybody else has agentic AI? They used to think because they had it, they had more value. So intellectual property is now playing an interesting role here, and I thought I would talk about that. And so as we start to look at AI replacing people, in this short series, we'll reveal how you can build a lean and very defensible and radically efficient enterprise. And I can tell you as a CEO, as I've been running my company, I've been living through this personal experience.
Inventions keep the world spinning. From fire in the wheel to today's high tech, inventions power change. Turn your inventions into reality. Learn how to get your ideas to market. This is Invent Anything with John Cronin.
Today we're going to cover 6 different topics, from topic number 1, from how you did things manually to now turning it all into a machine, taking this leap into agentic AI. And I'll define agentic AI in this series. And topic number 2, we'll talk about reinventing intellectual property, patents and protection in the age of AI, because now, believe it or not, even how we write the patents up, based upon agentic AI, is a whole new approach in IP. Also, in topic number 3, we'll talk about as we go lean and make our companies more scalable, we can redesign our business because now people will manage these agents. And there's great articles out there, one recently by IBM, that talks about how an average company of 30, 40 people can reduce to 4 or 5 people with 10 or 15 agentic AI agents. And I see that happening even in my own business. In topic number 4, we can talk about enterprise AI stack, where every company can automate various functions and then stack them up so a group of agentic AIs become a sub-organization. Then, believe it or not, I'm going to talk about reflective AI, and I'll define this as well. Reflective AI is the next step beyond agentic AI. And we'll talk about what that is and how that then means that the systems you deploy now, actually through reflective AI, will modify themselves constantly to update themselves without you even asking it. So you always have a better output for your workflows or for your products. And then we'll get into a little bit of the strategic future of all this. The opposite's happening. It used to be to speed up R&D, you would have higher costs to hire more people and buy more hardware and software and all the rest. But here, and things would take longer. Here with the agentic AI, it's the opposite. It's like things take less, they almost cost no money, and you're reducing overhead like crazy. Even in my own particular business, seeing how much overhead can be reduced is incredible. So you might want to take a listen to this podcast. And my hope is, yes, I'm an intellectual property consultant, but I deal with CEOs every day, get to talk to maybe 2 or 3 of them. We have lots of clients, but as an intellectual property consultant, I myself have been going through agentic AI changes in my own company, but starting to realize not only is it changing the way I'm looking at my company as a CEO, but also the intellectual property has changed so much. And now it seems like one of the only things left to give companies protection or the ability to sell themselves as being innovative and novel is intellectual property. So I hope you listen to this and really take back all the things that are going to happen. Now, I was talking to some friends earlier about, technology. And I have seen, since I've been doing IP for 40 years, from my early years at IBM, running the IBM patent factory, and then starting my company for the last 27 years, IP Capital, worked for thousands of clients. I've seen a lot of changes in technology. I remember at IBM seeing the first time someone talked about the World Wide Web. I remember how the story about Lou Gerstner banging his hand on the table saying, "How did IBM miss the web?" I remember that. I remember when sort of as I left IBM, I saw the major changes when you could do RFID on packages, or you could literally, have a phone that had 400 apps on it, now thousands of apps. We've seen so many different changes in technology. I have never seen anything in my entire life that has happened as fast to make changes in businesses for Agentic AI as it is today. So stay tuned. We'll do our normal wrap up, and for an audience, this is really the audience for anybody on the planet Earth. And for the audience, I think it's really almost for everybody. If you're an employee, you certainly want to know about what's going on with Agentic AI, and my advice would be as soon as possible, you start to learn Agentic AI. Start to look at podcasts. Pretty simple stuff, actually. For anybody in business today that doesn't know what's going on, this is really for you. For another audience, it's really small businesses where the business environment is changing so much that you can reduce your costs dramatically, get to market really fast, and to essentially build things that repair themselves and maintain themselves and upgrade themselves. For those in larger companies, you've probably heard of Agentic AI and the impact to workflows. I think this is really important to you. I'll do a separate podcast on this, but I think people that work for large companies are really going to lose because large companies won't let them play with this Agentic AI inside the large companies. That's unfortunate, and we're going to see a big shift there, I know. For those in management, I think, especially at supervisory levels, if you want to become more productive, be more innovative, Agentic AI is for you, especially backed by IP, which allows you to control, your business more. For those who every day waking up feeding the tiger, and you know who I'm talking to, the guys who do the selling in the companies, trying to figure out how to make revenues. Agentic AI has a way of reducing overhead dramatically, so the same company could actually generate less revenues because its expenses go way down. And finally, for those who want to increase their productivity, you can literally increase product development from months to days, and in some cases hours, and at 100 times less the cost. And none of this is fluff. Agentic AI is here to stay, and it's going to go to reflective AI, which is going to be even a bigger change. So stay tuned. And coming up, we're going to see how we go from technologies like spreadsheets and scripts and so on to building tools, Agentic AI from your workflows, just by describing what you want in plain English. We're going to talk about how you can slash overhead, build custom systems in minutes, and eliminate 90% of the repetitive work. And with AI, with the workflow you got, tends to allow you then to get to Agentic AI. So it gives you so many options. And in this episode, the two that we have coming up, I'll also look into how you can lock in the advantage that you have by applying Agentic AI to your company by adding intellectual property to secure the rights to the Agentic AI that you are developing. So let's dig into it. Topic number one, from manual to machine, and the leap into Agentic AI, which I have recently taken in the last 6 months. So I know from experience what it's about. But here's the thing. First of all, a lot of people ask me what Agentic AI is. The easiest answer is it's a digital employee. If you've been using any chat engines, you can use a large language model. You can give it prompts to do stuff. You probably know that you can now save those prompts in sort of a chat build, so you can rerun those prompts again. That's using agents. So you go from LLMs to using agents. And a lot of companies are there. The next step is Agentic AI, which is literally to use an English language way of asking the system to create a number of agents that do a number of things based on goals or plans or access to other things. You can easily, for instance, and the way we sort of got started was we started, automating things in spreadsheets to keep track of information. And then you'd identify different fields of a spreadsheet, different columns, if you will, to run out other columns to give you other results. But then you find yourself working with programmers that might know how to run VBA scripts, etc. to automate the creation of how to go from one row of elements to another row of elements. We are calculating things from the first row to the second row. And so you can then take these rows in a spreadsheet and break them up into system, into simple workflows. And so a lot of people have been doing that. And this early automation then got advanced because you could literally have some of these VBA scripts basically jump over to your large language model through an API and have the large language model do some of the work and pass it back to the Excel, where the Excel is a VBA script running things. And so this is the way a lot of people start to behave, using sort of the Excel system, or you could write code to do this, but Excel, for those people that don't know much about software, can write VBA scripts to go in and out of large language models. But as soon as you've done that now, we have kind of a master executable file, or at least a spreadsheet, that when you open it up and put new information in any place, it automatically does a number of things, like takes the number, multiplies it by 5, takes some information, send it to an API to a large language model, take some corpus of data in that cell, say, is this really important from a high priority, low priority, medium priority, return back the priority, give me an H or an M or an L, put that in the next column. Then after this, do that for every row. And for the whole spreadsheet, average the highs, medians, and lows, give me a spreadsheet on it, and all that stuff. You can take the output, send it to Word, send an email out, run a JSON script. You can do anything you want. And what happened is you now got to the point where you could take this agentic AI flow, in other words, the same flow you had in your business, but in English. English becomes the new software. In English, you could say, I'd like a spreadsheet. I'd like a spreadsheet that had, 10 columns. The first column is data about this. The second column is data about this. The third column, I'd like you to jump over to ChatGPT and take the first 2 columns and calculate something and put it in the third in a row. And then I'd like you to take that third row and get it ready to be inserted into Microsoft Word. And that's in the 4th row. And then I'd like you to create a report in Word and have that final report, be placed on my disk in this file folder. And that's programming. I just completed the program. And for agentic AI, like using Cursor AI and all the rest, you can literally then watch that software being built for you. So chat development environments can now execute completely. The time to productivity is almost instantaneous because you actually see it built in front of you. Businesses now can create working workflow tools and things like dashboards and evaluators and all those things almost instantly. And agentic AI integrates the software almost automatically. So whatever you're running on your computer, if you have any people in your company that use computers, agentic AI is going to save them huge amounts of time, to the point that you won't need a lot of employees. I've had a lot of discussions with CEOs over the last 6 months, and they don't know how to handle this efficiency because they really don't want to lay off people. Now, I don't want to give a podcast to make it sound like I'm an agentic AI expert. I'm keeping up. I have employees that some of them I would consider experts, but I've been dealing with so many clients where the technology person is an agentic AI programmer, and I get to see what they do. So I'm getting a lot of experience. I really want this podcast to come off with, first of all, you should know about this, but my specialty is intellectual property. So I do want to tell you that you can build these agentic AIs to write and test and deploy themselves in an enterprise ecosystem, but you might not know that your specific workflow using agentic AI gives you the ability to create intellectual property. And it's either patentable subject matter or trade secrets. And by knowing this, you now have the ability to maybe spend some extra money on intellectual property because your overhead is going down. You can afford intellectual property and have the agentic AIs even help you with sort of thinking about what is more novel or not. So you can set yourself up for intellectual property. Organizations are starting to use it. As I mentioned, this IBM article. Yesterday or the day before, Amazon announced, the CEO announced, that he believes over the next year and a half, he'll replace everybody in Amazon in the executive suites and all the people that support everything. Every one of them, he believes that he will replace with agentic AI. Well, that's kind of neat for the CEO to do that. I don't know what I'd do if I was an Amazon employee when I heard that. I think I'd start learning agentic AI at night, the weekend, and anywhere I could. Problem is, as soon as you learn that, 6 months from now, you're going to have to learn reflective AI. and all the rest of the other stuff. So it's pretty difficult. But we do know agentic AI for the early guys out of the start, guys meaning men and women, they give you a real first mover advantage and really low labor costs, so that there's this time where if you do it right, you can make a lot of profit and reduce overhead because the world hasn't yet figured out this productivity enhancement and output simultaneously. Wow, what a kickoff for our first topic, huh? Let's go to the second topic, reinventing IP and how patents and protection will occur in the age of AI and agentic AI. First of all, agentic AI makes product and software duplication easier than ever. We have in our company we have a timesheet where people put in their hours, so we can see the utilization rates on different things. I think we buy this software for some amount of money per year, $4 or $5 grand, something like that. One of my employees decided to basically look at how it was structured and write an agentic AI, and they produced a better product than what we would buy. And he did it in 6 hours. And I've asked my team to look inside of every single workflow we do and ask the question, can we automate it? And now I have this org chart that I'm developing, which has people's names, but agentic AI names in the org chart. And I have people managing these agentic AIs. You see, the entire workflow and the products can now be cloned and redeployed within hours. Intellectual property is going to be extremely important when you recognize that you just produced a piece of software or code or improvement to find out that a competitor can quickly copy it, instantly copy it almost. You can just give the agentic AI the URL and say, look at this, and produce software that gives me the same function and update the user interface. It's crazy. So intellectual property becomes really important. The ease of reproduction is another thing. Because it's so easy to reproduce, the urgency for intellectual property for speed is important. Over the since 2013, when Obama passed the American Invents Act, whereby basically a lot of things happen in the patent system where you have re-reviews and inter partes reviews and so on. But the first to file versus first to invent in the US was one of the big changes. People started recognizing that in order to protect their intellectual property, they had to get to the patent office first. Okay? First meaning, you could, if you divulge your invention, you had up to a year in the US to file it and still get the patent. If you divulge it, though, you lost the patents in the rest of the world. So a lot of people that I work with in the US said, I divulged it, but I'll do it within the year. But the mantra for people like myself and patent attorneys, etc., and not a patent attorney, is to get things filed faster. Agentic AI tells you that you need to get things done really fast. So you can see the increase in speed is now dramatic because of the ability for agentic AI to copy something. So that's a new force. Patents do offer a legal barrier against our AI-enabled competitors. And so if you know about agentic AI and they know about agentic AI, but you know about IP and they don't, you certainly can beat them to this. We have seen agentic AIs try to write IP. It's terrible, and there's a whole podcast there as to why it is. But I think to understand that patents need to be filed quickly is really important in the agentic AI area. Another thing that companies fail to do is that when they're building their inventions, they can really lose them by sharing things to others. It's a situation where one of my CEOs has a friend whose husband is in the very high ranks of a very large Fortune 500 company, and the person that understood the technology of the CTO happened to be showing her husband in the evening. That person then saw this and automatically recognized what it meant, and he took it back into the large company. You just lost your rights unless you patent protected it. And that divulgation was just a simple, honest mistake. Defensive patents will help to protect not just the inventions, but also when you protect the invention of a workflow, you're actually protecting the workflow. So now your workflows can be protected. had never occurred before. Protecting a workflow in a company at most could be done as a trade secret. But now you can take the inner workings of your company and protect it with intellectual property. And that then means your company becomes more valuable. That is, even by the way you do business becomes valuable now because it goes into agentic AI, which becomes patentable. Utility patents can certainly cover AI automated designs and all that stuff, but patents can cover diagnostics workflows, can cover maintenance workflows, can cover any kind of user interface. So we understand to create value, portfolio breadth is really important. Agentic AI running all these different workflows now allows them all to be patentable. Therefore, you can now have a really incredible portfolio. Another thing about AI is that writing claims of a patent using agentic AI is a new territory. There's very few people who are even thinking about this esoteric, crazy thing. I think about it every day because that's what my clients come to me for. And this is not a sales pitch. This is just saying that getting patents on agentic AI workflows, we didn't have agentic AI 4 months ago, 5 months ago. And now everyone's using them to protect workflows. So it's really a brand new way to start thinking about how to get patents. And finally, patents that are backing companies, patent-based companies that are, patent-backed, are becoming more and more valuable because it keeps copycats away. It allows you to tell your clients that you're selling, that you're patent protected. That means to them it's more novel. You're setting yourself up for better M&A because you get higher multiples of revenue when you get sold, maybe 1 or 2x, 3x at normal. You go 5, 10, 20x because of IP. So there's so many reasons to have intellectual property. Well, boy, that's a pretty interesting sort of thought process about AI agentic workflows inside your company and outside your company now being patent protected and that being an advantage. Let's go into the next 2 topics. Here's what we're going to talk about. If your business has 20, 30, 40 people, be expecting it to be reduced, by software agents. In the next episodes, we're going to talk about how agentic AI is dismantling traditional cost structures, enabling one person to run what used to be a full department, letting companies ditch bloated software as a service tools, developing AI clones, automating lead scoring, compliance, onboarding, and reducing your burn to 70%, and how smart companies are designing leaner org charts and locking in the advantages of agentic AI, and then using patents to protect those agentic AI employees. And the agents themselves, they work when you're asleep. So stay tuned. So let's get into topic number 3, lean and scalable, redesigning business with only 4 people in your organization in your org chart, but maybe 50 agents in your org chart, agentic AIs. So if you're a traditional service company, you often scale your headcount with revenue, right? The more revenue, the more people. AI breaks this link, absolutely breaks it, makes it go in reverse. You can now build a service out or some other thing and make it bigger and bigger and bigger for adding no people at all. AI breaks this link. The intellectual property that you can get on breaking that link is very high. AI agents can replicate their roles of pretty much anything. So if you've got people that are analysts, AI certainly can take that over. If you've got people that are developers, many of the workflows in the development process, AI agentic agents can do. Testing things and then writing reports. The agentic AI can certainly do everything except the physical testing now. If you have people that are basically professionals who are trying to read information and go to meetings and create insights to report those up in a sort of thoughtful way, well, guess what? Have we seen that every single meeting that we're doing today, whether it's Zoom or Teams, every one of them are recorded? Isn't that amazing? Every single meeting of everything that people are doing are recorded on the computer. Of course, every single meeting has a transcript. Did you know that that transcript goes right into an agentic AI? If you had the right prompts, you could do anything with that information. Write their proposal, or write an email response, you name it. So the people that were supposed to go to meetings and do all that stuff and create insights, their job's gone. Unless if you're not a good agentic AI programmer and you can't write good prompts, then that's the way it's going to be. But the people that can write good agentic AIs can certainly jump in here. Now a single person can now deploy and manage entire functions using agentic AI. There are now people talking about that there will be unicorns. Those are companies that get to $1 billion rapidly. And the unicorn will have one employee in it. One employee. Because of agentic AI. That's amazing. So a single person can create a unicorn now. And I have a couple of CEOs that I work with, and I know one of them will very likely do that this year. Because this person is an agentic AI expert, and he's in a hot space. The modern small company might look like 4 humans and 50 software agentic AIs, all in the org chart. And it's kind of interesting that a lot of these agentic AIs are passed around now for free. You learn how to do a net income statement from, an Intuit spreadsheet. So you get this thing for free. You load it down, and it creates your net income statement. So if you happen to be a CFO and your value is to take the data and create a thoughtful net income statement, gone. It just goes away. Legacy tools, things I mentioned like time management tracking, CRM, all these legacy tools that we use, basically all can be replaced with your personalized agentic AI. Interestingly enough, these legacy tools, you can combine them together in one agentic AI. So you can take the output of a utilization rate, right? And you could take your income statement or your revenue and your cost. That's a second thing. And then you could take sort of insights from your business about, your products, and have one agentic AI that looks at all three and produces reports to tell you what to do. Isn't that what our CFOs and CTOs are supposed to do? Agentic AI. Entire workflows, like imagine onboarding a new client or a new employee. Imagine normal reporting, quoting for a proposal. Imagine prospecting. All those things can now be customized with agentic AI. They can run without you. It's incredible. And the intellectual property on each one of these and the combination of them to your specific business becomes patentable. Working with companies, for instance, that make food, small companies, or small companies that do, say, studio design, video processing. They have different workflows, but it's the same workflow. They still have to get clients. They still have to write proposals. They still have to, but the specific way you do it could be intellectual property. And businesses are starting to rethink overhead structures. Do you need to pay rent? Do you need to have a lease? Do you need to have an admin? Do you need to have a person managing your calendar? Do you need to have any of that stuff? So think about that. Because if you're an organization of 4 people instead of 50, you don't need a lease. You don't need 50 computers. You don't need a health plan. You don't need any of those things. You just need these 4 people. And the agentic AIs are not asking for health plans. They're not asking for raises. And there's intellectual property about how you put your organization together for agentic AIs. You can have customized agents that eliminate all the software as a service you have. I don't know how large software as a service companies are going to manage themselves, knowing that every day in every way, agentic AI is going to take over the functions in smaller companies. You're going to enable total control of all internal tools with agentic AI. And let's just say that you have a bunch of agentic AIs that are doing really well. And let's just say that somebody decides to write an agentic AI to manage the other agentic AIs, because the person that was in charge of the agentic AIs basically had this thought, maybe I can write agentic AI to manage my agentic AIs. So now you have an agentic AI that you give a promotion to, I guess. Now it's an org chart of agentic AIs on top of agentic AIs. Again, they don't ask for any money. It's pretty crazy. And how you can formulate agentic AIs managing other agentic AIs is intellectual property. It might be even better to hold some of these as trade secrets. Problem with trade secrets today is the more people that think that they can hide this stuff with trade secrets are kidding themselves, because what happens is 2 months from now, your competitor learns how to do it anyway without you. So they can create this. And trade secrets used to be the particular way you do something to get really good results. Well, agentic AI can give you 1 million different trials in 20 seconds to figure out what a different way is, and maybe they get better. So these lean models are reducing the burn rate and increasing efficiency in there. And you're doing this generally for $20 a month. It's crazy. So let's move, and I'm not trying to spread fear. I'm trying to at least get the point that intellectual property can at least help in this. I didn't cause this problem. The world is in this direction. I'm a user in it. I see it every day. And the reason for this podcast and others that will be forthcoming, and some of the early ones, is to set this up. Let's jump to topic number 4, the enterprise and the AI stack, what every company can automate, and thinking about the intellectual property. First of all, any company that has any repetitive tasks or any structured tasks, these are primed for agentic AIs. Now, one thing that I learned in my company, in IP Capital, is we have 50 different intellectual property services. They all have names. They each have prescriptive workflows. They each have their own data structures and analysis tools. We've been teaching this sort of IP Capital methodology for decades. So we're kind of lucky and blessed that all the things that we've been doing are workflows. Agentic AI really likes workflows, especially if they're prescription and structured. It's much easier to create an agentic AI for a workflow. Interesting enough, if you don't have a structured workflow, agentic AI can look at the unstructured workflow and have agentic AI create a structured workflow and then write the software program for it. So it can do the work of a sort of a consultant. Another thing is that taking these repetitive tasks and thinking about sort of examples like if you wanted to do a document review of a customer document, or you want to do compliance checking, or you want to do some sort of generation of some automated weekly or monthly report. These are all agentic AI agents. And that's another way that you can start automating it. You just look at repetitive tasks, look at any reported function. Literally, I say if somebody has a computer in front of them, what they do during the day can literally be turned into an agentic AI, or most of that. Every employee who works through a computer, by definition, therefore, can have a co-pilot. It's kind of interesting, right? Microsoft called Copilot. But anybody that has a computer today can have a screen that's right alongside of them, just right alongside of them. As you're doing what you're doing, this little screen pops up and says, I've noticed you've done this 4 or 5 times. Would you like me to write an automation for this? You say yes. For instance, last night I loaded in Alexa Plus. That's using sort of AI and agents to essentially manage all the IoT devices in my Alexa. So now I can say, hey, that ring that just went off, was that UPS? It comes back and tells you. And this is, Amazon's already set up because it talks to you to know everything. If I want to catch an Uber, I just say, hey, Alexa, can I have an Uber tomorrow at 2:00? There'll be 3 people. And I need to also bring, something for the baby, for the car seat. Okay, done. I don't even make the phone call. So Alexa Plus is now today, as of February. You could load that in. And this is just the beginning. Now you can imagine just at the in your home how much time it's going to save, how much money it's going to save. Think about businesses where that front end administrator has the client coming in and they have to arrange this and arrange this and arrange this. All I have to do is get Alexa Plus and talk to it. Tell it what to do. Companies can create their own toolkits. You can create customization around these things. All the things that you could ever dream of. I remember when our CTO came to me, who developed some agentic AI, really frightened one day. And he said, you got to get on the phone. And we got on the phone, and basically he showed me that just by changing an API key from one model to another, the AI agents that he wrote were even faster, better, and even more thorough. And all he did was change the API key at no cost at all. He just got the new model. That's amazing. But more importantly, I start to hear words from my team like, this is unimaginable. It allows me to imagine things I could never imagine before and actually try them out. As a matter of fact, I can ask the AI agents to actually give me some unimaginable ideas because I might want to try one out this morning because I haven't had my first cup of coffee. Freelancers can now build integrated tools with almost no code. Learn English. That's the software code. I just saw a presentation of 3 levels of software. Software code number one was those days that you wrote actually physical code like C++, etc. Software code number two is where you had neural networks doing a lot of the coding and weighting functions. Software code number three, it's English. We're doing the stuff in English. One of the things is that anything that you do that supports or maintains things or upgrades them can easily be handled by agents, agentic agents. And with reflective AI, which we're going to talk about, that will actually do that automatically. You can get patents on all this stuff, on toolkits, data models, structure, on your improvements and your enhancements. And it may be that every single company now, along with the AI agent, as soon as it's created, you have another system that says, is this one patentable? And maybe you never had any patents, but now since you've lowered your cost by 70%, you could build a great portfolio. It's really kind of cool. Agentic code is actually, itself, the computer can't be an inventor. So you have to have some part of you as you're identifying the agentic AI workflow. But if you pass that bar, then the human can be the inventor. It's just the AI agentic agent built it. And then finally, you have to sort of think about this, that whatever you're doing every 6 months, you're going to have to do it again. But don't worry, because the reflective AI, which we're going to talk about, will do it automatically. So we can start to see how intellectual property intertwines itself with all this change. And I just found this out by happenstance. The more I work with clients that had problems related to agentic AI in their business, thinking about what to do, they're calling me saying, what do you think? And as we look into it, we recognize there's all sorts of intellectual property that can be gotten that 6 months ago was not even available. So maybe IP could, provide some further enhancements to what you're doing with your AI agentic agents. Now, in the last two topics, we're going to talk about, what if your software didn't just run your business, but rewrote itself weekly? What if in this episode we could traverse, well, we just talked about agentic AI to talk about the next stage, reflective AI, and I'll define it, that are self-improving agents without any retraining. We'll explore how these systems can launch product lines, drive just-in-time innovation, and why businesses that understand patents can evolve more intellectual property as they evolve the AI workflow, which may control the foundational value of the company. So in topic number 5, let's talk about reflective AI, systems that evolve without humans. Now, first of all, define it and try to set this up a bit for where this is. Reflective AI is kind of an emerging concept that basically says that AI can, for those systems that are already developed as workflows and agentic AI, can analyze themselves and improve themselves without any human intervention. So for instance, one of the workflows in IP Capital that we developed that has an agentic AI, our technical team looked at it and said, now that we've got it working and proven, we would like to make it more efficient, and we would like the output to be clearer, and we would like to be able to tie this to other reporting functions. So just by asking questions in English, this agentic AI basically came back and did that work. It actually figured out how to make itself faster. It figured out how to have it more responsive with more quality outputs. And it figured out different reports it could create. And then it wrote the software code to do that. Now just imagine you decide to tell your code, hey, at the end of next week, do this again. Every week do that and let me know. And if your improvement comes back at 5% greater than the last time, send me an email, maybe we'll install it. That's all you have to say. And the agentic AI, through its prompts, will generate the code, it'll wake itself up, and it'll start rewriting itself, just to see if in fact it makes that improvement. There's a huge amount of intellectual property in this, because as you as a person reflect on the past and think about how to do things better, in that downtime you might have on Friday night with a glass of wine, or then first thing in the morning on a weekend with a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, when you're looking back reflecting about how we could do things better, that's the next software level that's coming, and it's months away. So reflective AI is going to have a huge impact on our business. It's going to allow you to improve your own performance and give you better improved outputs for software releases in a continual way. How do you design a business? Think about this. How do you design a business that every 2 weeks you can release new software that's better than what you just did? I had one person say, wait a minute. Once he said, is this fair? Or like, will everybody just stop for like a couple months so everybody can catch up? And I thought, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So what do? I said, you have to plan to devour everything you did in the last 2 months. Maybe every 2 months on your calendar, you reinvent everything. But with reflective AI, it'll do it by itself. So now, just think about this. We all have apps on the phone. You're not going to have apps anymore. I have apps on the phone. I have my chat engine on my phone with builds. So I just give it one command and it runs through 8 apps. And I didn't write the apps. I don't see a need for an app store. I see that going away. Maybe not futurist. I'm an inventor. I have about 2,500 patents and applications worldwide, so I invent for a living. And I can sort of see the future. But at one point there wasn't an app. I remember getting my first iPhone and looking at all 400 apps in the App Store trying to figure out what they were. I now think that in the future there won't be such things. You'll just ask for something, and the software gets created, loads it on the phone, does it for yourself, and then it deletes it. Hey, by the way, there's AI large language models on your phone today. They're called Edge LLMs. There are devices right now you can buy on Amazon, but with 4 gigabyte quad cores doing chat level LLMs in a small PC that you buy for $250 by NVIDIA called Jetson. The world is changing so rapidly, and so does AI. If I had a business that's constantly improving itself, I better constantly improve it. Because what if my competitor has a business that's constantly improving itself and I'm not? How quickly will I, be around? There's also this idea of sort of improvement cycles to reduce obsolescence, of course, but now you can do it in days, even in weeks. And so maintenance is something that you no longer need. Imagine having a bug in your software, and imagine having an email that comes in, hey, I found this bug in the software I just purchased. Guess what? The Agentic AI fixes the bug, sends out the release. You don't need the people to do that. That would be a waste of money. And these self-updating employees just get better and better. Imagine having an employee that's like $20 a month doing this high volume work 24/7 that basically corrects itself and improves itself along with every new thing that comes out. So combining reflective AI with traditional systems then creates hybrid models. And over time, you slowly blend all the software you have with some level of agentic to more agentic with less of what you have, to then reflective with some agentic, and you improve this over time. So the plan for the company is to literally start someplace with agentic AI, get the improvement, and then watch slowly how your costs go down and your efficiency and productivity goes up, and start doing that, tearing your organization apart, and then adding reflective AI into it to get incredible feedback and maintenance and all that stuff. Businesses soon will rely on all these evolving agents, and they're for everything from marketing to legal to business to ops. Reflective AI agents can help you track and audit. They can wake you up. This is an emergency. When you get up in the morning, you're a CEO, and you get on your phone, look at certain key metrics, KPIs. That's handed to you, and by the way, it was handled while you're asleep. It creates a new category of invention. And these are all new types of inventions that I'm having fun trying to figure out how to write these things up and how to create claims. Like autonomous evolving software. What do you even do with that concept? And the fact that it can happen instantly. And patents can not only cover the functional results of the algorithms, but they can cover these dynamic updates as well. Companies that build early into this reflective system can really claim a whole new territory of intellectual property because they're first. Remember, first to file, created speed in the patent office. Agentic AI, speed to the patent office. Reflective AI, it's almost like you have to sit at the patent office because it's going to do it almost immediately. So reflective AI will define our future, and hopefully intellectual property is one of the last bastions to protect against this, protect your future. Again, I didn't cause all this to happen. It's not my fault. I'm just responding to this because I'm a CEO using it. I get to talk to CEOs every day. I'm intrigued by how fast agentic AI is going, just to find out that as I started to learn this agentic AI, they talk about reflective AI. And then I watched a 2-hour video of the CEO of NVIDIA talk about agentic AI chipsets and now reflective AI chipsets. So let's end up with topic number 6, sort of strategic futures, from how you go from cost cutting to generating faster and better innovation. First of all, companies are now launching entire product lines with AI agents, and they're doing it in days. And they're doing it with 2 people. And it doesn't matter how big your company is or how small your company is. As a matter of fact, the small company has the power of the big company. Because let's just say you want a complex piece of software that you need to write or to employ in your product somehow. Large companies can afford the R&D team to do that. Well, all you have to do is just use Agentic AI 20 minutes longer. And you now have that organization because it can create code at this level. Speed to market is a core differentiator, always has. Now you're going to be instantly to market. So if you can't be instantly to market, you might fall behind. And AI enables just-in-time innovation. What does that mean? Something happens, right? Some event happens. COVID happens. All of a sudden, you need to do something different. Like, since everybody's going on the internet to Zoom, you have to instantly create Zoom connections. Well, look at how long it took the world to kind of shuffle into Zoom, right? And to Teams. Now, everybody, if they wanted to, could create their own Zoom. Could Agentic AI create me a program that allows me to connect to people? I want to share video and audio. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do this. I'd like to have people raise their hand. I'd like to have funny faces, and develop it as an executable that I could just send as a file to another person. So when they write it, it automatically connects, and then I have a connector. And I've sort of instantly written my own private little Zoom. Instantly. And probably won't work the first time, second time with some bugs, third time you've got it. So you can literally innovate almost that fast. And what software do you have to learn? English. You just have to talk to it. Agentic AI can simulate all sorts of things. Here's one of the things in the future. Before you release a product, have the Agentic AI and reflective AI pretend that 20 customers have just used the software and give us the feedback. So it pretends it runs it from the customer's point of view and gives you feedback and says, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And you say, okay, add functionality to improve that. So look at all the work that you would do. It used to be you'd go to SurveyMonkey or something like that to ask questions of what kind of needs do you have. Well, Agentic AI and Reflective AI has access to SurveyMonkey. It creates a SurveyMonkey because it can scour the internet to look at the results of constant complaints. It can go to Facebook and social media. It can see all that stuff and then become your own SurveyMonkey inside of your own software program to improve it before you release it. And you haven't even had lunch. Patents can help you with this whole IA generation for innovation because not only can you get the innovation fast, but you can figure out the intellectual property fast. By the way, I can see this sort of handshaking. I've developed this AI agent. Is this more novel than this other AI agent? Which of the two? It says, well, the second one. Okay, so let's go with the second one because I know I can patent protect it. Okay, good. But let me actually patent protect the first one too, because I want to stop somebody from doing it that way. So the AI agent's helping you do your IP strategy in real time, if you know English. The same software tools can be used to reduce people, can also be used to develop new platforms. This is a key area. So if your company has workflows that are external to the client that they can see, it used to be, we call this kind of mechanical Turk, where you combine information in different parts, and the mechanical Turk would connect it all together. Now Agentic AI, Reflective AI can do that. So it could be that we can now turn our business into a platform. So let's just say you had some sort of business where you were trying to sell lead generation, making this up. And so, there were certain things you did with lead generation. And then you send out your emails to people, hi, I got a lead generation thing, I can find people, set up meetings and do all that stuff. And then you did that, you may have even a little bit of AI to help you. Agentic AI and Reflective AI can then turn that into a platform because it can put it into the cloud and it can run and it can interact with people as they're using it, building its own corpus of data. And that data then can be used to improve its whole platform. And now what's happening is every time it's used, every week, it gets better and better and better, and it becomes a platform. So, as we start to think about this, we have the ability to think about our future and to help organizations be able to grow faster and turn into platforms. Eventually, investors may see the value of this more and more through the lens of IP. I've had a lot of experience over the last couple of decades about investors that like to see IP in deals. I think in agentic AI, reflective AI is actually going to be necessary because of the ability to instantly copy. Businesses and their internal frameworks for filing and driving new IP can help you automate it. And if you know how to write the IP correctly, you can probably secure patents, and patents can be filed more quickly. And therefore, this game of using intellectual property with agentic and reflective AI becomes a strategic feature. So agentic AI is with reflective AI becomes not only cost cutter, but also it produces faster, better innovation, and they happen at the same time. So innovation goes way, way up as the cost goes way, way down. Yeah, innovation goes way, way, way up, and the cost goes way, way down at the same time. When has that ever occurred? When in our life has that ever occurred? Where you didn't have to pay for innovation. Look at Moore's Law. All the billions of dollars that has to go in. You're at 4 nanometer nodes right now. Every 18 months, you get a new chip faster and better. Here, every 5 weeks, you get a new model because the AI models are creating new models. When was the last time you saw an increase in productivity with a decrease in cost or a decrease in the amount of people? And that change is happening right now. You take a look, if you want to, for the number of companies that have put agentic AI or AI on the name of their company. I'm going to go down to the corner sub shop, and it's going to be an agentic AI company. I don't know how, but it's happening. So let's wrap up. We talked about the topic number 1, from manual to machine, the leap into agentic AI. And here we talked about English being the instructions, helping you overcome spreadsheets and VBA scripts and things like that. We talked about businesses now can generate tools like dashboards and evaluators. We talked about sort of, if you have it in action, a startup could look like a tech giant, and we can use AI to eliminate almost all repetitive tasks and make agentic AI not just an upgrade, but full-scale employees. In topic number 2, we talk about how we can reinvent IP knowing this, because you can now patent protect these workflows, which you never could. We talked about things like mixing and matching, even in hybrids, use software from what you've got to agentic and start to blend these out. And every one of those improvements could be a source of new intellectual property. We talked about how you might get defensive patents to stop others from at least copying what you just did. We talked about how you get patents on everything from workflows to the functional results of algorithms, to new user interfaces, to do diagnostics, etc. And we felt like in topic number 2, with the answer was those who can figure out the patents, along with that of agentic AI, makes a solid business case. In topic number 3, we talked about lean and scalable, redesigning businesses with 4 people and maybe 50 agents. We talked about how agentic AI is breaking the traditional link between headcount and growth. You grow with less people. That's crazy. We talked about how modern companies can now look at 4 or 5 people with 50 agents, and then they all be replaced by clones from everything from onboarding and quoting to reporting to insights. And customized agents can start taking over the reliance on customized software as a service that you might buy for $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a year, offering you incredible cost reduction and incredible efficiency. In topic number 4, we talked about sort of the AI stack where every company can automate. Every company. You can take things like document reviews, proposal generation, target fraud automation. Everything that you do can now become an agentic AI. Virtually every employee who's working on a computer now, a huge percentage of what they do can be done with agentic AI. We even talk about this concept of how sitting next to you like a co-pilot is just an AI agentic agent watching what you do and saying, how would you like me to make your job? 2 hours go away every week. Okay, good. And it does that for like 3 weeks. And now you have no more work to do because your agentic AI is doing it all. Does that sound feasible? It is feasible. Is it going to happen? I think yes. The sooner you do it, the sooner you'll see what we're talking about. In topic number 5, we talked about the next step of agentic AI, which is a reflective AI. And even though we kind of went through how intellectual property is going to help agentic AI, reflective AI is the same way. That it's a system that self-evolves itself. So it basically improves itself, maintenance, and all sorts of things. Every release it does, it makes it more efficient, better for the client. We talked about how it becomes a self-updating digital employee. And if carefully envisioned and done, basically this evolution of software becomes a brand new expected result. So not only does software have to be there and be novel every 12 months, we want it to be there and update itself every 2 or 3 weeks. And basically, by companies carefully adding reflective agents, we now have the ability to have a new value for the enterprise, particularly if the intellectual property goes along with it. And finally, in our strategic future, from cost cutting to innovation, when in the world has this ever happened? Where innovation goes way, way up at the same time costs go way down. The faster you innovate, the less the cost. Where you're going to have a unicorn of one person defining $1 billion company. One person with agentic AIs. And the agentic AIs covered by IP becomes the answer, right? So early movers can not only get out there in front on understanding agentic AI and reflective AI, but they can get the IP before anybody does, and they can stay ahead. AI just doesn't make itself leaner, it makes itself faster, smarter, better, cheaper. And if you sort of embrace this, like one employee of a very large company, where we basically created an agentic AI for them as an experiment. And they recognized that they could eliminate 15 to 20 people. And by the way, the agentic AI that was written in about a week and a half. This senior executive of this large company says, I'm not sure I want to deploy it. And I thought that was a surprise to me. So why would you not want to deploy it? He says, I don't think I'm ready to go through the pain of laying off 15 people because I can't justify it once I deploy this. Interesting. It's a European company. And there are probably laws and all sorts of things, right? Imagine if you were a company that was really getting killed for cost and your CTO said, we got to drive costs down. That person would have said, when can we start? Okay. So when you deploy it and the reasons why you deploy it will be based upon those human factors that go inside every company. For those entrepreneurs and CEOs like myself, where the people in your company are your family. Am I saying, let's do agentic AI so you can have your family go leave? And they'll be out there with the 25,000 people from Amazon looking for jobs. This is a mega shift in the way we think about business, having AI take over. And this podcast is just trying to prove this point by suggesting you get involved in it. You wouldn't believe how easy it is. Start to watch the podcast and try it yourself on the weekend. Get a couple of your people doing it. Give a specific project. What does it cost? $20 and someone playing around with it. The first time you get an AI agent that basically does things that you do routinely for absolutely no cost, and then you can start visualizing an org chart with agentic AIs in it, you'll have to think about this whole issue of, because you're highly productive and because you have AI and IP now to protect it, what do you do as an executive? I'll leave that up to you. I know what I've done. Maybe I'll cover it in another issue because I believe in trying to make everybody successful. But I'll leave this in your hands because you'll be dealing with this issue at the end of the day. If the end result of improving innovation, reducing costs means reducing people. So stay tuned for our next one. This is John Cronin, Invent Anything. And if you like, subscribe and take a look at our inventors' work website where we interview inventors. John Cronin, thank you very much.